Hi, I'm Jana Eubank. After a long winter, we are ready to see some color, and I just love the sweet pastel colors of Easter and springtime. Today we're going to be using the Doodlebug Hoppy Easter collection, but you can use any Easter collection that you may have or one that you've had your eye on. Before we talked about using a feature paper to pull all of our colors out of, and that's what we're going to do again today. We have this feature paper of the Easter eggs, and then we've pulled out shades of pink and green and blue. But they don't have to be boring. We're going to spice them up a bit with some glitter. We're going to begin with this blue for our background, and then we're going to cut a 10 by 10 square of this Easter egg pattern paper. We'll add this to the page, and then we're going to add another square on top of this using the pink paper. Instead of centering the square on the page, we're going to put it up a little bit closer to the top so that we have a smaller border here and wider borders here. And that's because we're going to be building a scene down here at the bottom of the page. For our pink pattern paper, we're going to cut a 9 1/4 by 9 1/4 square. And this one we are going to center right on top of that Easter egg paper. Isn't that cute with all the colors? Now we've got 3 patterns going on so far, and they work together because these two are a tone-on-tone pattern, and this one has a white background, so it pops against those other 2 colors. To set this pink paper apart from the egg paper, we're going to outline it with a black pen. When I do outlining, I like to turn the paper and drag my arm towards me. It gives a nice steady line instead of me trying to follow the edge of the paper. Start at the top and pull towards you, keeping your wrist on the table to add stability. So for this design, I have 3 photos, and I'm going to be putting them into a quadrant design. I'm going to use the 2 photos of my kids and in circles. And then I have a supporting photo that I'm going to cut in a square, and then I'm going to place my journaling and title in the other square. Let's create the circular photos first. Dies are not only great to use for your paper, but they're great to cut out photos. And this is a great situation in which to use this because I've got a vertical photo and a horizontal photo, but I can make them consistent with one another by cutting them both into circles. I just line up the circle, die right on my photo, and then I can send that through my machine. Now we're ready to add the mats. You can see that I've created circular glitter photo mats right here, and we're going to use the Scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive to do that. You just place this adhesive on a piece of cardstock, and then we're going to cut out some circles to use as our mats. We're going to place the die on the adhesive covered cardstock and then send it through our machine. Now that we have our circle cut out, we're ready to add the glitter. I folded a piece of cardstock in half just to help me dump the glitter back into the container after we've added glitter to this paper. So peel off the backing. Now we've got the tacky side up, and we're ready to glitter our cardstock. A little goes a long way. It looks like I'm using a lot, but after you get the glitter covered on the paper and dump it back into the container, you'll be surprised how much mileage you get out of the glitter. Tap off the excess and dump the rest back into the jar. Now add your photos to the glitter paper, but be sure to use a strong adhesive like this strong tape by Scrapbook.com. Place it on the back. Now we're ready to create the green glittered frames. We've added the Scrapbook.com double-sided tape adhesive to the back, and we're going to cut this into 2 4-inch squares. We're going to create a 1/4 inch frame using the frame punch board by We Are Memory Keepers. And then do all 4 corners. From there you can place the cardstock into this, under this arm, and we're going to cut out the frame. Repeat going around every side. And now we're ready to glitter our frame. So I went ahead and added glitter to the frames just like we did to the photo mats earlier. Now we're going to do something special with these frames. I've cut out 2 pieces of acetate that we are going to adhere to the back of these frames, and then we're going to turn them into shakers. Place your frame on a scratch piece of paper, add your adhesive to the edges of the frame, and then glue the acetate sheet into place. Set that aside and do it the same for the other frame. We are now going to use these 2 frames to create shakers, one for this supporting photo of the Easter eggs and one for our title and journaling. Let's work on the title and journaling one first. We're going to add foam tape all around the back of the frame. So I've placed foam tape all the way around our frame, and now we're going to add our sequins inside the frame. Just need to add a few. We'll do a little bit of pink, and then we'll add a little bit of gold. I've gone ahead and pre-printed my journaling onto this pattern paper, but I've left some space at the top, and that is because we're going to be putting our title over the shaker frame once we build it. So go ahead and place your journaling on the frame. Now we have a cute little shaker to add to our page. Repeat the same process for your supporting photo, and now you're ready to add them to your page. We're going to add this egg photo in the upper right hand corner. We'll add one of the circular photos next to it. And then we'll add our last 2 photos. We've got our title and journaling down here in the left-hand corner, and then our final photo. Now this is a fun way to do a quadrant design. Instead of using all squares, you can break it up a bit and put circles and squares together. Now we're ready to add our title and the decorations across the bottom of the page. I've gone ahead and cut out 7 fence pieces to add to the bottom of the page as a border, and we'll go ahead and add those. You want to overlap the pattern paper slightly, and we'll come back and add the grass borders after the fence. I went ahead and used the spare pieces from the frames, the inside portions, to die cut these grass pieces, and I glittered them as well. We're going to add those to the bottom of the layout, overlapping the fence. If you have a little bit of grass hanging off, just again use your scissors to cut it off. Now we're ready to add our die cuts and create a fun little Easter scene. Here we've added the Easter bunny, the basket, the chicks, we have some speech bubbles, and also we've added the title on top of the shaker pocket, as well as a banner piece here. We've got some die cut clouds at the top of the page, and then we finished everything off with some fun enamel sprinkles. We've got the flowers down here and the dots right here. This makes for a fun Easter page that will help you remember your Easter celebrations. Now we're going to create this adorable Easter basket using these fun papers. Let me show you how. First, we're going to take 2 3.5-inch circles that I've cut using the Scrapbook.com circle dies, and we're going to use this as the base of our basket. We're going to pull out our kindergarten skills today, and we're going to do a little bit of weaving. So I've cut out 6 strips of this purple paper, and then 4 strips of this flower paper. And what's fun about this, we're going to weave these two patterns together, and that just pumps up the cute factor because you've got the contrasting patterns. But first we got to build the bottom. So we're going to kind of build a wheel with spokes, so to speak. We have this base circle, and we're first going to mark it into quadrants. I'll take a ruler and a pencil, and I'm just eyeballing this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it will give us some guidelines to follow as we start to add our spokes to the wheel, just to kind of help us make sure they're a little bit more evenly spaced. I have folded each spoke in half so that I can have a center point to work from. I'm going to start with one, and we're going to glue these onto this wheel with the wrong sides up, so that when we start to fold up our edges, the pattern that we want to see is on the outside. We'll just add a little bit of glue. We don't need too much. If we put too much glue, it will make the base too thick. So just put a fine bead of glue onto those lines. And we're going to follow our quadrant lines that we did earlier. So we'll begin by doing a cross section, and then we'll come back in with the other strips and fill in these empty spaces. I'm going to put 2 strips in each of these sections, so I'm angling them so that I have room to do both. Now that we've created our wheel with all of our spokes, we're ready to add our liner piece on top of the circle and enclose those spokes all together. So let's add some hot glue to the back, and we want to get around the edges so that we have a nice seal. And then just place that circle right on top. The next thing we're going to do is bend up each of these spokes. And then we'll start using these to build the walls of our basket. For the sides of the basket, I have 4 rings that I'm going to work with, and these are 3/4 inch strips by 12-inch strips. And what I've done to make sure that they're all the same exact size of ring is I've used a pencil to mark a line at the 3/4 inch mark and then glued them all together so that they are the same exact size. Now we're going to take this crazy looking spider thing and start adding our rings to the basket. And we're just going to weave them in and out. Once we have our first ring on, we're going to slide it all the way down to the bottom of the basket so that it is tight against the edge. To secure this ring into place, we're going to add a dab of hot glue behind each of the spokes on the outside edge, like this. The next ring we add to the basket, we're going to alternate the weaving pattern by doing the opposite of what we've done before. Continue adding the other 2 rings until you reach the height of the basket that you'd like. After we've added each of the rings, we're ready to trim each of the spokes and fold them over on the inside of the basket. Now that we've folded the edges over, we're going to secure each of these ends with hot glue on the inside. This may look a little messy right now, but we will be covering all of these ends with a liner strip in just a few minutes. We have all the tabs folded over, but before we add our liner strip, we want to add a handle for our basket. I've taken another 3/4 inch strip of the purple, and I've lined it with a piece of white cardstock that has been die cut with this adorable stitched scallop die. We're just going to curve it a bit with our fingers, and then secure each end on the inside of the basket with some hot glue. Make sure we line up the handle with one of these strips so you have a nice continuous line. And then we'll fold it over and add it to the other side of the basket. We're now ready to add our liner strip on the inside. This liner strip will cover the end of the tabs as well as the end of each of the handles. Now we're ready to add some cute flowers that we've made with this adorable flower die. We're just going to add this to the handle, along with a few paper leaves. Every flower needs some leaves. Add a touch of that spring green. And now our basket is ready to give someone. We can dress up some store-bought treats, tuck those inside with a cute tag, dressed up with a die cut, and you're ready to go. This Easter basket is not only perfect for spring, but you can also use it for fall with apples. Maybe you want to do one for a wedding shower or even Christmas. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more from Scrapbook.com, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a message. Happiness is life handmade.